Good evening. This is John Schmitz, episode 47 of the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And tonight we have a heavy topic on tap for you. And hey, it almost was really good timing because the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict is due at any time. They're in 5 days of deliberation, the jury is. And in Small Talk tonight, Mark Small is going to talk about that a little bit about that case. And we have a special guest tonight, John Piper. He's going to be with us, and he's got quite a bit of experience with this sex trafficking issue that we have going on tonight, going on in our state and around the country. So, hey, get in the live chat, ask questions. He's very knowledgeable. We do have Dana Black. She is filling in for Ed Liptrap. He's still going to be away for another week, and then next week we'll have him back. But we're going to do a little housekeeping here. I'm working on a new countdown. If you didn't notice, we had a little countdown there. It's better than the cheapy one that comes with StreamYard. And what I want to do, I want to use audience participation in this. So if you like the show, if you want to be in some small way a participant, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the countdown. And so you can send me a message. You can do it either on the Facebook page or People Over Politics or just whatever. Even we're at mouthwashtalkshow@gmail.com. However you want to contact me. But I'll go ahead and send you a link, and then I want you to come on and say a number. So we'll start from 30 and go backwards and say you get number 22. So you just come on and you say 22. And then I'm going to put together a really cool countdown for our show and show some appreciation for those that have watched the show and tuned in, because we are, as we joke about, the fastest growing show on the internet. But tonight we have our special guest and our panel, and it looks like they're all backstage. Lucy was setting up her green screen, so I can't wait to see what she has. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little clip here. This is a clip of some of these people you'll recognize on this. This is Not Today. You're going to see some ex-Colts on there, some present Colts, and actually it starts out with the coach of the Colts. So we're going to go ahead and play that, and then we'll have John Piper on the other end.
We have an unspoken epidemic in our country.
The sexual abuse of children is a tough topic, so we try to ignore it.
We convince ourselves it doesn't happen.
Not in our city.
Not in our neighborhood.
Not in our family.
But the truth is, it happens more than we realize, and it's closer than we think.
It's time to open our eyes and tackle this issue.
It's time to ensure that children can be children.
It's time to say not today or ever to sexual abuse and exploitation of children.
Not today.
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 Not today or ever.
Join our team to protect the beauty and innocence of childhood. Visit nottoday.org.
Oh, and wow, that was pretty intense opening there. We saw some ex-Colts and whatnot. And hey, John, it's great to have you on the Mouthwash Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And man, this is a heavy subject tonight, and we're going to dig into it. And so I just want you to introduce yourself and give the folks an elevator speech of just who you are and how you got involved with the sex trafficking and this type of things.
I own an animal hospital right now. I have thousands of clients. My wife is the doctor. We have other employees. We do a lot of business with individuals that work for the state of Indiana, whether it's INDOT, whether it's downtown at the governor's office, and all points in between. Before that, I owned a restaurant, and next door, 2 doors over from my restaurant, was a human trafficking operation. For years, we didn't really recognize what it was. Over time, we figured out what it was. I also live on the north side of Mooresville. And in that particular area, the airport, Indianapolis Airport, bought a lot of property. Just to summarize real fast, they bought the big spot where the second part of our subdivision is going to be. Somebody moved a house onto that spot. We all said, what the hell is going on? The airport owns it. Next thing we know, we have Chinese children being dropped off. The guy who owned the property, supposedly bought it from the airport, built a dam, flooded out our back part of our neighborhood. We had the DNR involved, found out it was all illegal. He moved cattle on the operation, blah, blah, blah. Said these kids were running his cattle operation. Well, my wife's a veterinarian. We're from Texas. You don't have 12 and 14-year-old Chinese children running cattle operations. And cattle operations do not have cars at 10, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning coming and going. So over the years, we called the police, hey, there's something's going on, back and forth, back and forth. Nobody would ever do anything. We contacted the FBI. We contacted State Representative Dave Frizzell, State Representative Bob Benning. Like I said to the guest earlier, I have spoken to so many congressmen, so many senators, state representatives. We literally, just by living and working in these two locations, we're workaholics. We go to home, we go to work, back and forth. I fell ass backwards into the biggest crime in the world today. And real quick, I want to prove to everybody how bad it is. The video you just saw had Coach Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This other gentleman is Timothy Ballard. Timothy Ballard wrote the book. Mike Tomlin wrote the foreword called Slave Stealers. I've given 30 of these things away. I recommend everybody reads it. They have pointed out that over 10,000 Chinese children are smuggled across the Mexican border every single year. My contacts at the DEA and the FBI tell me that these are the primary drug mules of the modern era. You talk to any local cop, because Indiana's got such a problem with child protective services, so they say, they're not allowed to arrest anybody, any child. You're a grown man, you got 4 or 5 Chinese kids, you're a different ethnicity, and you see them at the Flying J, the Pilot, whatever, you're not allowed to talk to them. You're not allowed to stop them. We would see these children dropped 2 doors over from my restaurant, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. We would call the police, say, hey, they have another drop. You got 10, 12, 14 kids sitting on the sidewalk carrying bags we now know were filled with heroin, cocaine, opioids, fentanyl. We have the same thing being delivered at the house behind mine. How I came upon it, it was God's will. For some reason, he put it in my lap. To show you how important this issue is, I want to show a bunch of other things. Mark Levin, everybody knows him as the great one. He's on Fox News. He was Ronald Reagan's constitutional brain. This gentleman next to him over here is Jacques Boyens. He is one of the leading advocates in the world to stop sex trafficking. His sister won the American Idol in South Africa. She was taken by the record company on tour. They didn't see her for 6 years. She was raped and sold thousands of times. They finally got her back. He admits it's one of the few human beings that has ever survived sex trafficking. They are all literally raped to death. So Mark Levin started asking Jacques Boyens questions. It was staggering. How much is this industry worth? And who are the number one consumers? The number one consumer in the world is American male making over $100,000 a year. Case in point, we're going to show you billionaire Bob Kraft. ESPN reported Bob Kraft and 3 other billionaires were raping 15-year-old Chinese girls in Florida. The FBI intervened, had the tapes destroyed, had the charges dropped. It is the biggest crime in the world. Mark Levin said to Jacques Boyens, he goes, how much is this worth? Each child, each year is worth $200,000 per child per year. Wrap your brain around that. They're raped 50 times a week. And by the way, folks, that's before you count the drugs that they smuggled in. You can't make these things up. And like you said, it's hard to wrap your brain around it. The majority of people I talk to, their eyes glaze over. They can't fathom these kind of numbers. But we now know that just in the last fiscal year, we've had, 1.7 million people smuggled into America? The Border Patrol calls them getaways. We've all heard that term on the news lately. Well, they estimate 28 different countries have set getaways to America just in the last month. So sex trafficking is the largest crime in the world. It's worth $150 billion a year. Think about
John, it looks like, that is, that's quite a bit to take in right there in itself. And I know that we're going to dig a lot deeper into this. And I want to go ahead and get the panel on here so you can start answering some questions on that and doing some more explanation because, our feed is getting going here with this. And I think it is just definitely one of those things that I don't think a lot of people realize that this is to this extent.
Well, if I can jump in right away, you're right. Yeah. I have begged for 10 years for Channel 59, Channel 13, Channel 8, Channel 6, Channel 4 to put me on the air, to interview me, to go over the evidence. I've walked the halls of Congress 3 times demanding my congressmen and senators allow me to testify, even in front of a subcommittee. And I just want to share this real quick. Channel 8 is the only channel to ever admit that they looked at the documents. I've hired 2 separate police officers on different times to go and deliver all my evidence, times, dates, location, the color of the car, the number of the kids. Channel 8 got back to me. You know what Channel 8 said? We are a local news organization. This story outmodes our capabilities at present. Would you like your documents back, or can we dispose of them? Channel 8 said that. Everybody else just ignores it. Tony Katz on the radio ignores it. Everybody, and sit down, is protecting Mike Pence and the FBI because they are the thrust of all of it. And I can prove it over and over and over again. So anybody got any questions? We'll start right there.
All right. Well, hey, now you're on the mouthwash. We reach far and wide, and I'm certain that you're going to get a chance to talk about all those things. So let me bring everybody on. I'll bring them on here one at a time and see how they're doing. Let's change the format up here a little bit. Let's get you out there. Let's go ahead and bring on Tiffany first. Tiffany, how are you doing, and where are you?
I'm doing great. I'm here in Miami, just enjoying a little bit of a vacation. John, thank you for sharing your story. I was just very, very stunned and taken aback as you were talking. And I just applaud your zealousness for sharing this story and this information. And I'm excited to have you on. Hopefully we'll be able to educate some other people tonight and grow the support and interest for this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, now we're going to go ahead and bring on Indiana's own Dana Black. Dana, how are you doing this evening? Let's stick you up on top there.
I'm doing excellent. I hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful Christmas holiday weekend. Tiffany, I wish I was in sunny Florida with you so I can get some sun back. I'm looking a little pale around these parts.
I wish you were here. I wish you were here too. I could have pushed you in front of the jellyfish. So I could have run away.
That's all right. See, there you go. Why you want to hurt me?
It's
all in love. All in love.
This is, like I said, we're already getting going. Well, let's just go ahead and add a little more sauce to the mixture here with bring it on Lucy. Lucy, how are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing great. John, I am super excited about meeting you, hearing what you have to say. I have 7 daughters and 3 sons. And we have had one daughter who, after having an online conversation with, we don't know if it's a 15-year-old boy or a 50-year-old man, but we ended up with a sweatshirt mailed to our house. So I'll tell you that story and how disconcerting that was.
Wow. I mean, it is, you always have to have your guard up because you just never know. And, real quick story, stories from where I live in Mars Hill. There's actually, you could buy girls on eBay or on Craigslist. And, the art center that we bought was drug dealers and sex trafficking. They had padlocks on the outside of the doors, not just locks, had padlocks and pentagrams. And those are signs of, foul play going on. So, hey, John, we're going to get into it real quick. And what we'll do is here, I'm going to let the panel pick who wants to go first. Raise your hand. The first one to raise your hand on the panel gets to go. Lucy, I figured it was going to be you. So go ahead, Lucy, start up with some questioning and then we'll go to Dana and then Tiffany.
Thank you, John. I think one of the most important things we can do tonight is talk to parents about how to protect your children. So our short story is we have precocious children and lots of electronics around the house. Yeah. And one of our daughters, started to have some sort of online relationship. Now, we had caught her doing this when she was 11. And so we took her phone away for basically a year and tried to keep her off of all electronics. I don't think we were completely successful because there were times we had to leave the house and go to work, and kids are pretty resourceful. But by the time she hit 13, we felt like she had some more responsibility. I'd gone online and done, like the 60-minute show where they show the kids being rescued and the things that they'd gone through. And I thought that would be enough to scare her away. But she ended up with this online boyfriend, and we didn't know what was going on until a sweatshirt showed up at our house, which was really disconcerting to know that she had given somebody, our personal address. Yeah. And that shirt had something written on it, which was like some anime thing, which basically I think translated as, you're my student or something like that. That freaked me out. It really did. So we immediately, of course, took electronics away again. We didn't allow her to take possession of the t-shirt or of the sweatshirt. Luckily, it came when she wasn't home. We threw it away. We, figured out what she was on Snapchat or whatever and blocked all of that stuff. But I'm an aware parent who is involved in my children's lives. I mean, what can you say to parents?
Everything we've learned over the years for my context, and again, I own an animal hospital, lots of federal agents, police officers, they bring their pets to my hospital. I'm always getting notes left for me here and there. The intel that I'm getting is staggering. It doesn't stop. It just, you have to be there all the time. You have to know who all their friends are. Everybody's got to have the buddy system. Nobody goes out alone. It's frightening to think this is happening in America. Your story's mild compared to a lot of stories.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, John, before we go to Dana, we have this one, wants to know about your evidence, or how do people find your story, so to speak. He wants to know if you have a book or whatever. So if you want to quickly.
Actually, thank you very much for put that in. We have multiple books. You can see this one here. This is the one where they tried to murder me and Governor Holcomb tried to cover it up. It's got all the evidence in that one. This is the first one we put out, and we compare Bill Clinton and Mike Pence, their careers and how they parallel. Mike Pence's refusal to do anything about this, his lies to me. Pence and I have met 3 times. All these are on the johnpiperproject.com. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the johnpiperproject.com.
We'll put that up in the.
Now, there's a minister, real quick, I got to throw a caveat in here. There's a minister, John Piper. I'm not affiliated. I hear he's absolutely a wonderful person, but I kind of feel bad we have the same name. But my evidence, start to finish, is on there. This particular book, if I can take a second, because that's such a fabulous question, it just started to overwhelm me. This whole thing was evolving, and I started going through tax papers, actually, and I started finding my notes. Hey, I wrote this down in 2005. So this is a 12-year timeline, and Mike Pence's and the FBI's involvement. Who I met, where I met them, the times, the dates, the locations, when I went to Congress. It's page after page of just kind of a little narrative of what I've done. And so you can go through the book and you'll see lots of evidence. But that first book right there with Mike Pence and Bill Clinton on it, it describes everything I've done, 2005. It doesn't go to present because so much has happened in the last years since they tried to kill me. I've had 2 death threats, a threat to blow up my hospital, the FBI's involvement. It's frightening. It's scary. So anyway, it's not 100% current, but the rest of the information, the PDFs on my website, the videos that we've made are absolutely great. They're there. So, but I'm available at Angel Animal Hospital. I'm willing to meet with anybody. I've met, like I said, with congressmen and senators and governors. There's nothing to hide. I've been audited 4 times. Think about that. Mike Pence was so furious. They tried to shut us down time and time again. The stories I could tell you would take all night, so I won't. Let's go on to the next question.
All right. As you can see, listeners, viewers, that he is passionate and has done homework and is very heavily involved. And this all stemmed from, a personal experience with sex trafficking houses. And so, Dana, what do you have? I see your wheels turning.
I have a whole host of questions, so I'm going to try to make sure that I, ask them in a way that makes sense. But I wanted to just say something about the FBI. One of my earliest memories of who the FBI was and what the FBI was about was Fred Hampton. So please don't assume that just because it's a national agency that there can't be nefarious actions happening, because they literally went in and shot Fred Hampton while he was asleep in his bed. So
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Very important. Not everybody, we don't all share the same politics, but this transcends politics. Do we all agree on that? I mean, this is a Democrat, independent, liberal. Newt Gingrich has called the FBI one of the leading organized crime entities in the world. Assistant Deputy Director to the FBI, James Colstrom. The FBI has to be closed. Newt Gingrich agrees. The FBI is organized crime. Danny Clausen, the FBI has to be closed. Assistant Deputy Director. The FBI has turned into the largest mafia organization in the world. I could tell you stories about, I've been thrown out of FBI headquarters after they told me to bring my evidence out because they don't want to hear it. The FBI is awful. I agree with all those men. The FBI has to be closed. It is organized crime, nothing more.
Well, like I said, historically, especially in the African American community, we are fully aware of behaviors of the FBI. But I guess my first question is this: I sit on the board of Trinity Haven. Trinity Haven is a residence for LGBTQ plus who are at risk of homelessness. And I wanted to kind of piggyback off of Lucy's question, because Lucy came at it from a very concerned parent, very active in her children's life type of parent. But there are children, young people out here now whose parents, because of their sexual orientation, are discarded. Can you give us a little indication of or if you have any numbers in reference to, what is happening in our LGBTQ plus community, especially when so many parents are discarding those beautiful souls, and how do we account for all of those lives?
Well, just a little background on me. I come from a family of 10 children. We have 38 nieces and nephews. We now have 37. My nephew Joey died from a heroin overdose. So I'm personally involved in this. My wife and I own one of the larger animal hospitals in the state of Indiana. And on a funny note, just to pat my wife on the back, everybody said, oh, you can't build that hospital. You'll never be successful. It's too blah, blah, blah. We hit the ground running. My wife, for 26 years, has been the #1 veterinarian in the state of Indiana for the gay community. Real quick story. I'm in the lobby of my hospital one day, and I'm talking to this gentleman who's a homosexual, a wonderful guy, been a friend of my wife's for over 10 years. I'll just speed up real fast because this takes a while. And all of a sudden, somebody in the lobby yelled, "It's gay day at Angel." And we all just started cracking up, and I looked around. I felt very uncomfortable, and I looked around. Okay. And I looked at this gentleman, and I said, I got to ask you. He goes, "Stop. She loved us first." I said, "What do you mean?" 26 years ago, when your wife started practicing, everybody came to her because she loved the gay community when nobody else would. Now it's cool and hip. Everybody wants to have gay friends, right? 26 years ago, that was not the case. My wife's father was Lieutenant Colonel Chaplain in the Air Force, and he taught her as a Methodist minister, we love everybody. That's the way it is. My aunts and uncles are all nuns and priests. We love everybody. Out of my giant family, we have 4 homosexuals. We have a lot of African Americans that have married in and children born now. So when it comes to diversity, when it comes to the homosexual community, we've had a lot of gay employees over the years. Do I see any trans people? That's kind of an area I have to admit I'm somewhat ignorant on. I know parents do discard them. I know it's shameful for a lot of parents that just can't accept it. But I don't have a whole lot of experience in that area. As far as the gay community, we have a lot of experience because they're the backbone of our business. In all honesty, we lost a doctor because she was unhappy. She saw so many gay clients. I said, it's the backbone of our business. They love us. They come here. And by the way, my wife will always compliment the gay community. No one loves faster. No one laughs more. No one cries easier. They do. You put one of their pets to sleep, they are the most wonderful people in the world. And we love them, not just because of the financial gain, but 26 years ago, my wife was just a basic beginning veterinarian. That's how she grew her business. It is what it is. All veterinarians love their pets, for the most part. There's a couple of schmoes, but for the most part, the gay community is a huge part of our world. So,
well, I guess the question, John,
if you had any statistics, though,
yeah,
on the numbers of those, those LGBTQ plus youth, or not even youth, our trans adults. We already know that Black trans women are at a higher risk of murder. So I was just trying to get maybe some statistics on what you're seeing when it comes to sex trafficking, human trafficking in the LGBTQ plus community, especially since we see so many that are discarded.
Yeah, I have no information on that. My experience, like I said, I'm a workaholic like everybody else. You spend 12 hours a day at your business, especially when you're starting a new one. We don't see that. I just have had the visual. And by the way, a lot of this I didn't see on the internet. I didn't hear somebody talk about. I witnessed it with my own eyes, the children being dropped. And it was mostly Chinese children. We did see, a variety of South American children. But for the most part, no, as far as that community, I don't have really any experience. I apologize, but I don't.
All right. Hey, Tiffany, we're going to go ahead and let you get in here. And then, Dana, I want to get back to you again. I'm going to sort of round robin this, let Tiffany get in here and get a question. So, Tiffany, what might you have to ask?
Sure. John, just kind of piggybacking on what Dana said and what Lucy had asked, I'm here in South Florida with my 20-year-old daughter. She's a junior down at IU. So, of course, we talk about, just different things that young girls need to be aware of. And I'm wondering, do you have any, I think that when we talk about trafficking and we talk about Chinese children, I think sometimes we can distance ourselves because it's like, well, I don't know a lot of Chinese children, maybe that's going on. I just haven't seen it, haven't heard it. it's not in my neighborhood, but do you have any data on, like our just standard American kids? What are you seeing with like teenage girls, college age girls? What are some of the things that we need to look out for?
Well, college campuses are some of the most dangerous places in America. I have seen special after special. The police won't report the crimes. A lot of them are just swept under the rug. The date rape drugs, when I was going to college, that was huge. So again, my experience is all what I witnessed in my backyard and what I witnessed 2 doors over. Like I said, I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and everybody's at college. A couple are at IU right now. And yeah, everybody looks out. The buddy system exists. You can't go anywhere. IU has already had some girls disappear and nobody's ever going to see them again. We all know that. Yeah, the biggest problem I see with young adults, once they hit 18, she's on a date. Date went south. It's her own fault, blah, blah, blah. So, and there is a dividing line, by the way, in the human trafficking industry. And one of the commentators, we were on a road trip over the weekend, made a comment. After 18, it's not sex trafficking anymore. They consider them adults and they're just prostitutes, volunteer prostitutes. Well, we know that's not the fact because, of course, all of a sudden somebody gives them a little heroin, somebody gives them some Oxycontin, which is absolutely the cousin of heroin, the worst. They get addicted, and then there's something called dope sick. We'll get into that a little later. You know what dope sick is? Anybody heard of that? You won't sleep. You will not sleep when you find out what Purdue Pharma did to 700,000 people. They've killed 700,000 people. The federal courts just threw out Purdue Pharma's $4.8 billion lawsuit because it wasn't enough. The FDA wrote false documents to put into the drugs saying Oxycontin wasn't addicting. What I learned this past weekend just blew my mind. But you often wonder, how do kids get into working the strip clubs? How do they get on the pole? Why do they need so much cash? It's because of the drugs that these kids accidentally, sometimes intentionally, they go to a party, somebody slips them. So next thing you know, they can't get off of it. I mean, Oxycontin is one of the worst things ever invented. And look up the word or the show, Dope Sick. It's a book. Now it's a movie. Michael Keaton started a movie. But that's how they get a lot of these girls, especially the young girls. What possesses a 12-year-old girl to sit there and be raped 50 times a week? And the college students, you see these college kids just disappear. So anywho, yeah, as far as the college kids, I want to stay in my wheelhouse, not because I want to be rude, but I just don't have any experience on campus because, like I said, we started a business 10 years ago and it's 12 hours a day. It's just the way the world works.
No, but I appreciate it because it's like, it's one of those things where oftentimes you can have a subject and, it happens with a lot of people, you hear, you'll hear girls going out, they'll be approached, things don't really feel right, the gut doesn't feel right. I sat in a presentation that was put on by Gerwick, the Republican Women of Greater Indianapolis, and they actually had a lady from the FBI who works in sex trafficking, and they also had a lady from IMPD who works sex trafficking too. And they did a presentation about what they're seeing in the city, what they're seeing with young girls, people from the suburbs, and their data was staggering too. It's just very, very eye-opening, and it's every day. It's all kinds of populations. Oh, go ahead.
The most frightening thing in the world. When I had my restaurant, we would have the children dropped off 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I would call 911. There's no room in the jails, no room in child protective services, no room in the courts. We can't come out. Click, hang up the phone. I can't tell you how many cops told me that. In Greenwood, Indiana, there's no room in child protective services. What are you talking about? These are 14-year-old, 12-year-old little girls sitting on a curb waiting for the restaurant to open because there's mattress rooms in the back. Nobody has to take my word for it. You can pick up the phone and call Chief of Police Jim Isom. He was a regular customer. I know Jimmy since he was a rookie on the force. He's now Chief of Police at Greenwood. Officer Eck, Officer Rodriguez. All these guys used to come in. I'd say they had another drop. Elizabeth Schultz, head of the Johnson County Health Department, was physically assaulted by the traffickers that ran the restaurant. It was a front. She ran from the building screaming. No police wanted to do anything about it. They allowed the restaurant to stay open. Why? Because the FBI is behind it all. They laundered the kids. Mike Pence launders kids. Not that they're doing it personally. They're protecting the people doing it. Can I show you something real quick? Did I already show you guys this?
No.
Everybody get a good look at that? Help end child prostitution? I called the FBI and I called the police so many times. I pull out of my subdivision one time and I see this sign. Whoa, they're going to do something. I pull over to the side of the road. This is in Mooresville on 67. Channel 8 did the story on this, by the way. So they have all the video. They refused to release it to me because they don't want it on my website. The FBI put this up. I called them. I said, hey, I got 2 locations, one in Canby, one in Johnson County, and the 3100 Meridian Park Drive, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Piper, you got to stop. We don't take anything over the phone. 1-800, call the FBI. I said, what are you talking about? You got to bring your evidence out here. So I go home. I go to work that day. I go home. Next day, I put on a suit, tie. I go out to the FBI headquarters. I walk up to the guard check in Castleton. Here's my name. I'm John Piper. I got all this information. I got a binder like this: times, dates, location, Google Earth pictures, the number of kids getting out of the cars, the color of the car, the color of the van, the day of the week, how many kids we think are estimated dropped on a monthly basis, my neighbors' names, my neighbors' phone numbers, actionable intelligence. The guard says, I'll call in. He calls in, comes back 5 minutes later. There are no agents available to see you, Mr. Piper. You have to leave. They threw me out of FBI headquarters. They wouldn't even let me be there. I go home, 3 hours. I'm mad at myself. I go back. I stand there with my cell phone. I said, I'm going to call a press conference and accuse you of child rape if you don't get an agent out here. The FBI, 5 minutes later, this all happened. I will testify. This is why I want to testify in front of Congress. This is a scam. The FBI sends a lady out. I said, I'm John Piper. I live in Canby. This is what I'm witnessing. She goes, let me see your evidence. She opens up the book. I'm at the guard check. I'm in a suit and tie. I'm a business owner. I'm not some guy in a cardboard box. I said, can't we go in and talk? She goes, why are you here? And I tell her why I'm here. I said, this has to be looked into. It. She goes, who sent you out here? I said, I saw your sign. She goes, oh. She goes, well, we'll look into it. I said, wait a second. There's 10 kids, maybe 10 kids there, 10 kids in Greenwood. She goes, we'll look into it. I said, can I have your business card? Who are you? I'm agent on duty. Agent on duty. She wouldn't even tell me who she was. To this day, I said to her the same thing I said to Mike Pence. Pence and I have met 3 times. I said, if you think I'm lying, go out there. They have my name, address. They got it all my neighbors. I said, talk to my neighbors. Walk down the street. Hey, have you seen Chinese kids? Because our neighborhood backs up to that 40 acres. So everybody saw the drug deals going down, people coming against it. It's a cattle operation with 14-year-old kids running it. Nope, don't think it happens. The FBI to this day, and this happened in 14, the FBI has refused. I talk to my neighbors all the time. Has anybody from the FBI, state police, anybody ever come out? I asked Mike Pence 3 times. I asked the FBI twice. Send somebody out if you think I'm lying. I said to the FBI, you think I'm lying? Put me on a polygraph. The FBI refused. I said, put me on a videotape. Take notes. The FBI refused. The FBI is laundering the kids. It is the largest crime in the world. By the way, I've had more people yell at me, you're lying, you're making it up. If the FBI is doing it, where's all their money going? Did anybody see the latest documents? We now know where the FBI is hiding their money. Billions hidden beyond reach. The Cayman Islands, the Grand Cayman Islands, and where's the other one? The British Virgin Islands. 11 million documents about Vladimir Putin, Tony Blair, the war profiteer, the King of Jordan, all the UN money that these people have been getting, they've been hiding in the Cayman Islands, billions and millions. They estimate the 11 million documents say that perhaps 1.5 trillion are hiding in the Cayman Islands. We know from the research that was done on the Pandora Papers that the FBI and local government officials have maybe 6 bogus companies that they run to run all their money into in the Cayman Islands. So now we know from the 11 million documents that were released. Everybody remember Edward Snowden? The same thing happened with Edward Snowden. He had enough. He was a whistleblower. He finally said enough, and he told the world that the CIA was listening to everything, turning on your laptops, watching you undress. The FBI and the CIA were monitoring all your communications. Well, the 11 million documents revealed there were 100 billionaires hiding money, 30 world leaders, 300 public officials, and an unknown number of government agencies with fake businesses to hide money in the Cayman Islands. That's where the drug money is going. That's where the child prostitution money is going, and the FBI is behind it all. And you don't have to look any further than our good friend Bob Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots.
All right, John. Hey, John, I want to jump in here real quick. I got a question from Thor Wilkinson. It asks, is the restaurant and the house that's was behind your house, are they shut down? Are they still in operation?
Yeah, no, what happened is one of the guys who threatened to kill me and blow up my hospital was a part of the drug cartel. By the way, does everybody know Mike Pence pardoned members of the drug cartel? Does everybody know that? No.
Why am I not surprised?
Mike Pence pardoned drug cartel figures. He can't deny it. Charles King, detective IMPD, did the research. He heard one of my speeches. He came out. I went to church with Charles for 10 years. Charles came out and told me, he goes, John, you're wrong. This guy right here, the drug cartel figure who bought my restaurant, never paid me for it. His name is Rick Carter. Mike Pence gave a pardon to. He said, you can't wait 2 years to be adjudicated in the state of Indiana. It has to happen within a year. So I said, Charles, come on up to my office. We opened my safe. We pulled out the Daily Journal, the actual paper. I said, there he is being arrested. He took cell phone pictures of it. Extremely important. 10 days later, he calls me. He goes, you aren't going to believe what we found. This guy was being arrested right there for selling drugs to kids at Greenwood High School and Center Grove High School, right? He waited 2 years, not saw 1 minute in court, not 1 minute behind bars. Charles goes, he disappeared. There is no record. Brad Cooper, the prosecutor for Johnson County, came to my hospital and said, you need to carry your firearm. These people are going to kill you. He's already done 3 years in Ohio for selling drugs to kids. Charles King, detective IMPD, came, called me on the phone 10 days later, said, they've wiped this entire record out. I said, well, there he's being arrested. You got the arrest warrant, right? You have the officers that arrested him. You have the initial judge. Gone. Mike
I have a
Pence,
question. I
right
have a question.
yeah.
I have a question. I have a question. So I'm hearing your story, and you know, we can only go by what you're telling us. But have you had a chance to talk to Representative John Bartlett? I know for the past, at least the last 5-6 sessions, he's introduced human trafficking, sex trafficking legislation. None of it really getting through committee. But have you had a chance to talk to Representative Bartlett?
We have had all these documents sent to the Indiana Legislative Black Caucus. We have had it sent to every one of our congressmen and senators. I can't tell you the money I have spent, the time I have spent contacting everybody. Nobody will talk to me.
See, I'm asking you specifically, though. I'm not disputing. I just want to ask specifically because I know that he has introduced legislation multiple times addressing sex trafficking and human trafficking. And if he's introducing legislation, I'm trying to figure out, maybe we got to build that relationship.
Absolutely.
Because here's somebody I know for certain, because he's the one that brought it to my attention back in 2016. He's been trying to get that legislation. So what do we need to do to create a
set
relationship
up a meeting? I will go downtown
so that you guys can get some legislation and start lobbying that legislative body?
Out of every single member of the Indiana legislature, Senate and House, the only people to get back to me is Michelle Moody, legislative assistant for Senator Randolph and Senator Yoder. And she goes, we can't help you. You have to contact your own people. You can't make this stuff up. They just introduced
a bill, House Bill 1200, that's going to be introduced this year, that's dealing with sex trafficking. And like I said, Bartlett has introduced sex trafficking bills in the past. So I'm wondering what path you're taking to connect with folks so that you can build these relationships, so that you can have substantial conversations.
We have reached out, sent certified letters. We've sent emails. Like I haven't mentioned, but Dave Frizzell was state representative for 27 years. He's the one that introduced me to Mike Pence twice. He got so mad and frustrated, he quit in the middle of the session. 3 weeks later, sold his house and left Indiana. Woody Burton, chairman of the budget committee, sat in this exact room where I'm at now. He and I spent 2 hours talking about it. Within a few months, he said, I'm not going to be part of this. He knows it's a massive cover-up. Woody Burton, Dan Burton, congressman's brother, 30 years, chairman of the budget committee, said, I'm out, I'm done, I'm walking away from all these people. So I will meet anybody, anywhere, anytime. John knows that. But let me finish your comment about the restaurant is closed. I sold to somebody, never got paid. But the house, fascinating what happened there. We got it closed down because we contacted the International Justice Mission. We contacted from there, they sent us to the Polaris Project. Has anybody heard of those two groups? The International Justice Mission works internationally. They referred me, turfed me out to the Polaris Project, which works within the state. They work, sadly, with the FBI and other groups, Amnesty International, blah, blah, blah. And basically, with their help and my thousands of calls, they finally, both of these places closed down, bugged out. Within months, The old man who ran the operation, his name was John Loudermilk. He passed away. So long story short, the family put all of his real estate up for sale. Somebody bought it after the auction because the house was in such dreadful shape. I'm driving home one day. I see a guy. I'd seen all the dumpsters there. I pull off the side of the road and say, hey, I'm John, your neighbor. I live in that house right over there. He goes, my God, this has been such a task. We had to rip everything out, blah, blah, blah. Here's where I'm going. He goes, do you know how many rooms were in that house, the sex trafficking house? And he didn't know what sex trafficking. I said, well, I don't know how many rooms that survived the move. They had moved the house. He goes, they moved the house? He goes, I thought they built it. I said, no, that house was moved there. I said, do you know what was going on? He goes, well, they said they had a couple of families living in it. That's why it was so beat up. They had to tear every floor, every wall out, everything. I said, no, a sex trafficking operation. He goes, oh my God. I said, what? There were 16 rooms in that house. It's a little farmhouse, 16 basically cubicles. I said, that went on for probably 10 years before I was smart enough to figure out what the hell was going on. This man, the guy who refurbed that house, he moved out within 3 months, by the way. He took his family and got the hell out. It was a house of horrors. No telling how many children died in that house. He told me, he goes, John, we still get mail from China. What does that tell you? It tells you, one, I'm a dumbass because I didn't pick up on it soon enough. I didn't make enough calls. I didn't do enough. It is, when I look at my failures, they far exceed, the successes I've had. It is truly amazing. And if you go back to the very first video that John showed with Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy, it's in every one of our neighborhoods. We don't recognize it. That's the moral of that video. That's why I beg John, put that on there. We don't want to talk about it. People are ashamed. People get glossy-eyed. This can't be happening. This is America. This isn't Colombia. This isn't Vietnam. The Philippines, where children are bought and sold on street corners every day. This is the United States of America. We're Indiana, but we're the crossroads for heroin, cocaine, opioids. Our DEA people tell us 90% of all the drugs that come in, these kids bring in, wind up in Detroit, Michigan. We are the hub for Detroit, Michigan. That's from the DEA themselves.
So, John, I've got to ask you this question. There is clearly no political will to make a change. The people that are involved in this at the highest levels are, making their money this way. Yeah. And I'm sure they've all got like the blackmail and the things, pictures of them or video of them raping small children that, if they don't go along to get along, they're going to be exposed. So that leaves it incumbent upon us as real human beings who need to make a change. What do we do beyond our own families? How do we help?
Okay. Well, from my point of view, the biggest thing is we have to find people in the Indiana legislature. When you look at the evidence, the day that they tried to murder me, somebody drove 110 feet off the road across my front lawn and tried to run me down because I was a federal whistleblower. At that time, I was a federal whistleblower and I was running for the United States Senate. Within hours, first off, the police refused to arrest anybody at the scene. I'm just going to summarize this real fast. They said the jail was too full. The guy who tried to run me down was Ray Skillman's former partner. Ray Skillman's wonderful. His former partner's a monster. He had the mansion behind mine. He was furious that I was telling the truth about Mike Pence. Martinsville police showed up. Martinsville police had 3 cars there, dash cams going. Everybody admits this is what happened. They were on my property. They were destroying my home site where we were building our home. Long story short, I blow a gasket. We demand the police report the next day. Holcomb ordered no police report. Holcomb ordered the dash cam of all 3 cars deleted. Holcomb ordered the 911 call deleted. Don't believe me? Right here. Chief Justice of the Indiana Supreme Court, Loretta Rush, sent me a letter because I begged her for an investigation because of what Holcomb did. Guess what? She said, John, I can't do an investigation. The Attorney General, the prosecutor, and the state police all have to. I called her office after the fact. I talked to her head person. I said, do I have her permission to send this to the prosecutor, Attorney General Curtis Hill, the state police? She goes, that's why they sent it to you, John. So we sent this out, certified mail to everybody. They refused to do an investigation. Finally, because I wouldn't shut up, I kept going down. 1 year and 1 month after the attempted murder against me for being a federal whistleblower, the state police did an investigation. 1 year and 1 month. You know what they did? They called one of the criminals at the scene of the crime. He falsified a 5-minute conversation. They closed the book. Go to hell, John Piper.
So they had a summer study, John. They had a summer study. Because I'm it's not making sense. There's some missing things here. There was a summer study that the legislators had to discuss sex trafficking. Were you able to interject yourself in that summer study?
Nope. Nobody will talk to me. It's complete blackout on John Piper. Think about this, guys. I have hired 2 police officers to go to Channel 59, Channel 13, Tony Katz, everybody to hand deliver it. They can't deny they got it. The media won't talk to me. They won't interview me. Our state representatives, right here. My congressman, Roderick Bray is my senator. John Jacob is my state representative. Won't talk to me. There they are. We have.
Okay. John Jacob is a friend of the show. He's been on here multiple times.
He might be in the chat even.
Yeah, I would be really shocked if John Jacob or Kurt Nicely did not take this up. Have you been able to, go to their offices, speak to them personally?
You can't get into state building anymore because of COVID, but I've called and called and called. They won't do anything. You can ask. John's got a friend named Ted Liddell, who's a retired sheriff. He's delivered all these things for me. We've paid people to do it. We've sent certified letters. I could pull out all the certified receipts. Guys,
John will get you in touch. John Schmidt will get you in touch with John Jacob. I promise you that.
Yeah, and Kurt, yeah, and
I'll get you in touch with John Bartlett. I got his number on my phone. I'm confused.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to have John on this show, because he talked to me over a year ago about this, and you
didn't believe me, did you?
I believed you. I'm just like, okay, how dedicated are you? And here you are a year later, still dedicated to this. So somebody's going to have to listen. You're obviously not going to go away, and it's time to stay. Let's look at this stuff. Hey, if there's nothing to be had, then there's nothing to be had. But if why not look at it? So Tiffany, go ahead. Then I want to do a poll question after that.
Sure. Just a couple comments. Number one, John Piper, the one thing that you probably did badly and that you should have done is you should have started, and this is just Tiffany talking, you should have started a fire on your neighbor's property, because the fire department would have had to respond. You're a good neighbor and you were looking out and you were doing the neighborly thing. But if you had set a fire on their property, you would have got them all kinds of attention. So thank goodness you're a good neighbor, but a shitty neighbor would have set a fire and then watched everything that happened. Number two,
I'll keep that in mind.
Number two, because that's what they tell. But that's what they tell women. Like, if you're getting attacked, don't yell help, yell fire, because people come for a fire. No one's ever going to come help you. So the second thing is that I saw this thing on TikTok, and it said that nobody cares about your true story until you make a documentary. So I love how you have so many documents and everything's documented. You need to make a documentary, because people take things seriously when they're a documentary. And my third thing for you is, damn it. Oh, here it is. So my question is for you is, what do you want? What is our goal? What is going to make you feel good about the situation? Because it seems like there's not much we can do about the children that were living in the house. What do you want to see happen?
So right now, as a matter of fact, if you were to go to my website, thejohnpiperproject.com, there's a video. It starts off with Peyton Manning's group. Then it goes into basically a quick summary of how everything goes. It's like 16 minutes long. And at the end, I bring it forward. Our Supreme Court Chief Justice Loretta Rush is absolutely corrupt. When you look at the crime she has committed against me, even though she started helping me, she got in bed with Holcomb. Eric Holcomb and the Attorney General, now Todd Rokita. When you and the state police, they're all against us. The only thing that can happen is the legislature that you guys have wonderfully been talking about. They have to get involved. They have to do an investigation. You can't depend on the FBI to do an investigation. They're going to investigate themselves. That's not going to happen. Our legislature has to look at the times, the dates, the location, the police reports. The 3 attempted murder, the 3 times they threatened to murder me, here are the police reports. Guess what? I've got all of them here. All 3 police reports. I'm entitled to the front page. Every death threat they made against me and the bomb threat is on videotape. Johnson County prosecutor has it. The mayor of Greenwood has the other one. And I've got the video, or the still shot from the other one. Nobody will release the videos. And real quick, we need the legislature to go through and demand that Eric Holcomb give up the videotape of Jonathan Bird's restaurant, where Mike Pence was asked by Dave Frizzell, to sit between us. Now, I did have one ally in the Senate, or the Indiana House, that was Dave Frizzell. He quit and moved because of this issue. Dave Frizzell had Mike Pence get up. He came and sat between my wife and myself, and that was February 26th of 2016. Mike Pence opened the book right to the page where this was. and I said, Governor Pence, you promised me you would help us close these rape houses. Mike Pence this is important, rolled all the evidence up. There's 200 Republicans in a room. It's the Republican Lincoln dinner. The videographer's right over my shoulder on the stage. Pence rolls it up, goes, Dr. Piper, Mr. Piper, we're going to get to the bottom of this. Walk back to his table to finish his dinner, set it all on the table in front of Lieutenant Governor Eric Holcomb. The video exists. 200 people saw it. We want that video released. We want Holcomb to explain himself, and we want the Indiana legislature to immediately start an investigation. Because until the legislature gets involved, the cops aren't going to stop anybody. I told you, there's no room in Child Protective Services, no room in the courts, and no room in the jails. There's nowhere to put anybody.
It sounds good. So before we get to another question, I want to put up we do our polls on People Over Politics, and I think this is sort of circulating around the question. And this question here is: do you think sex trafficking is an issue that gets enough attention from the media?
No.
And we had pretty much 29 people that said no, and 0 yeses. And I'm going to go ahead and put the other one up here. And this is one of the things that I think that this topic might have some issues with, but the poll results sort of changed my mind a little bit. Do you think people are reluctant to talk about sex trafficking because it makes them feel uncomfortable? And we had 19 no's, 3 not sures, and 2 yes. But I do believe that we have a lot of brave souls on People Over Politics. They're not afraid to give their opinion. So
no, but when I talk to people all the time, whether it's at coffee shops, whether I'm invited, like your friend Ted had me up, people get glossy-eyed. It can't be happening. It can't be real. People are frightened of the issue because you're talking about some of the world's most deadly drug traffickers that are bringing these kids in. It's inconceivable. I've been a part of this for 12, 13 years. And I still can't believe some of the stats.
So let's take a step back and ask, what are we doing to the customers? Because there's no business without a paying customer.
Correct.
So how do we go back to who are the paying customers and expose them?
Yeah.
And how do we get society to the point where, pornography is not on every corner? And I'm a libertarian, so I believe that sex work is work. I believe consensual adults should be able to do whatever they want, even if they want to exchange money. I have no problem with that. If you exchange, your money for putting a rivet into a car, then, you could do the same thing with sex. That doesn't bother me. It's just a commodity. But when you have children, when you have people that are non-consensual, the only reason that this is profitable is because someone is willing to pay for it. How the heck do we get them?
It's a lack of morals and values, and it's society saying, screw it, everybody else is breaking the law, why can't I? I mean, I'm almost to that point where I want to be cynical.
See, I question that. I question that philosophy because
these are some sick puppies. These are,
but I think that is I think that is the simplest way to answer it. I think it's more systemic than that. For example, when the Stanford student was busted literally raping an unconscious woman, the system went about the process of protecting the rapist at the expense of the person who was being raped. So I'm going to go further to say it's beyond morals. You can't, morals are like assholes. We all got our own set. But when you look at the laws that govern us, and then the people who are supposed to interpret and then administer justice, and they are protecting the behavior of these folks, it goes much deeper than that. And I'm actually going to say it like this, and nobody's going to say it. I'm going to say it. I'm just going to be real. Men dominate over 60% of our legislators. They are also most of our judges. They are also most of our police officers, and they are also most of the predators. So when you have over half the species, not even half, willing to condone such behavior and not check themselves, because Tiffany and Lucy, we've had this conversation before about how we teach our women to protect themselves. No, stop. Why don't you teach these boys to stop being predators and wanting to attack and consume women as, I don't mind if they're a commodity, if there's an exchange of goods, I'm providing a service for, profit, whatever. But until we deal, and honestly, real talk, and ain't nobody gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it, and I'm not a man hater. But the system is dominated by the same people who are perpetrating the crime. So that's why you're not getting the reaction. But what I'm still going back to is this. There are people that are working on it. They mentioned some Republicans. I mentioned some Democrats. Somewhere along the line, there's some miscommunication about what it is that's happening to you and all the things that are happening to you and what's happening to these children. Right. And how are you conveying that message to people who are writing and penning legislation to do something about it? And I haven't really, all I'm hearing is, well, I sent a letter. I haven't got anything back.
I'm sending
telling you, I'll get
certified
you with
letters.
John Bartlett, and he will work with you. They tell you they get with their person, they'll work with you. So you gotta keep the conversation focused. It can't go off about how bad the FBI is or how bad Mike Pence is. If your focus is on these kids, it needs to be on these kids.
But they're the
roots.
Not
hearing you.
It's a dandelion in your yard. You just can't pull the dandelion out and not expect it to come back. You have to kill the roots. And the root is Mike Pence. The root is the FBI. The root
Mike
is the
Pence
heroin.
Isn't in position to write he's not writing legislation. He's not
in office. He was a congressman for 12 years.
He's not an elected official. He's not the one that can do it. He's not the one. He's not the one. You need to talk to people who are already elected, not people that are retired, not people who used to be, not the FBI, because now you're talking about a state and local issue. So you need to talk to the people here.
You talked about what are men in general basically getting away with it, the dominant of the species.
They're not the dominant of the species. They just happen to be more of them in positions of power.
Why did the NFL not suspend this man? Why did the NFL not take away his franchise?
Because again, you got the vast majority of people who set the rules who are the perpetrators, and they protect it. Got to protect the shield.
So how do we resolve this? How do we move forward? We have to have great role models, which we saw in the video that John showed to start the show with Tony Dungy, with Peyton Manning, with Frank Wright, Chris Collinsworth. We need those NFL people to come out. And I tell you what is perplexing to me. Why would they do that commercial for Not Today and not demand the NFL fire this son of a bitch? He raped kids.
We say this quite often on the show here. It's a club and we ain't in it. And this is a club that I don't think anybody wants to be in, but there is people that are in it. So John, let me stop you. Let me stop you right there, because I know
if you contact me, you give me one of these guys' numbers, I will go downtown. I own the business. I can come and go as I please. 24/7. I will meet anybody, anywhere. I will invite them to dinner. I'll have them here. I'll bring everything. I will show them where the drugs come in, how the drugs are distributed to the gangs downtown. I will spell it all out. By the way, everybody remember this real quick, Operation Legend? Everything I told you is true. The kids are smuggled in from Mexico. John, you remember this?
Yeah, we had it in Mars Hill. We had some officers in here shutting some stuff down.
It was a total scam. They said they saved or they arrested 19 kids. Basically, the kids are smuggled in from Mexico. They bring the drugs. The drugs go to the drug gangs. The gangs distribute them to black people downtown, which is why we have the inner city plantation that we have, right? Nobody disagrees with that at all. Operation Legend, they sent 57 federal agents in October or August of last year through October. It wasn't 57. I did some more recon on it. They sent the regular agents over here plus 17 new ones, not 57. But they did exactly what I've been saying to do. You watch a drug deal, you get the warrants, you follow them back to their house, you raid the house, you get the drugs, you get the guns, you get the gang members, and if you go in the back, you will find the sex trafficked kids that brought the drugs in. What happened? They had one massive raid. They found 19 people, 9 little girls being raped. Guess what? Holcomb shut it down after that. They arrested one person here, one person here. That was the only reason. We have over 13 major gangs that run Indianapolis. Chicago has 36. They stopped one gang. And by the way, they lied. They said our murder rate went down. Does anybody remember what 2020's murder rate in Indianapolis was? The highest ever. So they got the gang. They stopped all the drugs. Why is our murder rate and gang rate greater than it's ever been before?
Well,
How do we stop this? It's got to be the Indiana legislature. I say it in my videos, they have to start investigations, but they can't just do it without people like you and I talking about it. We have to get some of these state reps on here. Mr. Piper's telling the truth. We verified the times, the dates, the locations. We verified all his police reports, all his calls.
So Mr. Piper, I think to what Dana was saying earlier is that there's two things that are going on here. There's the very unfortunate fact that children are being trafficked. And I know that's one of the issues that the Republican women at a national level that they're working on. We support, securing the border so that we can stop people coming across, because so many children are being trafficked coming across the border. Yep. There is the trafficking aspect of this, and then there are the things that have happened to you. And in order for us to move forward and to get the type of legislation that you want to see and the type of changes, we have to focus on stopping trafficking. We had a conversation in Indianapolis about human trafficking when the Super Bowl came to town, because there were a number of prostitutes that came, and we all know that when you have the NBA playoffs, you've got the All-Star games, you've got the Super Bowl, that people do come in for trafficking. Some people do come in for pure prostitution, but that is the type of event that you'll see a spike, because you have so many people who will pay. You'll have so many customers in town. But one of the things that we have to focus on is the issue of trafficking versus the things that have happened to you, because it muddies the water and it muddies the conversation. But going back to what we were talking about with the college campuses, I think when Dana brought it up about the student out in California, I've talked to my daughter about this, and my daughter's in a sorority down at IU Bloomington. And I asked her, I said, Michaela, do you have any friends who've been assaulted? What are you seeing? And she's like, Mom, we have to look out for each other. Women have to look out for each other. Number two, these guys, I believe these boys are watching so much pornography that they are completely dehumanized. They don't see women as people. They see them as body parts. They're drugging them. One of my girlfriend's friends had a needle mark on her arm, so she was drugged against her will. And to the point about the foxes monitoring the hen house, the whoever is in charge of enforcing the rules down in Bloomington, they're not enforcing they're not crimes. You've got some council that sits together and puts somebody out of school for a semester. That's not how you handle rape and drugging and sodomizing and hurting people. So there is a bigger problem. One, it's the way these boys are being socialized. It's what they're doing, and the way that they are not seeing the issues. They're not seeing the circumstances, the consequences of doing these things that are truly crimes. And so we do need to fix them at a state level. We need to fix them with our universities. A crime is a crime, and it doesn't matter if it happens on a college campus, in somebody's home, in your neighbor's home. A crime is a freaking crime. And I tell you, that's what we really have to work on, is understanding that having sex against your will, being forced into sex work, coming into a country, somebody holding your visa, somebody putting you in a situation where to work off of your debt is something that you can never do because somebody owns you. We need to let people know what these crimes are. We need to also let people know the entry points, where people are getting sucked into these type of environments and these arrangements, so that we can stop it. And this is something that I'm going to say, and it's true, and Dana's going to understand it. Until you can talk about this story and you get people thinking about white children, no one is going to listen to you. Until you talk about how a 14-year-old girl goes to the mall and she never goes home because she got trafficked, no one is ever going to listen to you.
The media's got to put it out there, in our local media.
No, not the media. This is the story we need to tell in Indianapolis. Until people understand that a little girl can get dropped off at the mall and never come home and end up someplace downtown being trafficked, raped 50 times a week, and nobody ever sees her. Until people understand how that can happen to white children, no one is going to understand what's going on.
Yeah, well, I hate to say that.
We have to
John, let me interrupt here real quick. This will be a good segue into small talk. I want to get him in there because I think we could go 5 hours on this, and I'd try to keep the show to an hour. But Mark Small brings up some good points, that we could discuss on the other end. Then I'll let everybody have one more round, and then we'll call it. But man, this is heavy, and I agree with the ladies here. Hey, men, you got to be men and quit being boys that shave. We did a whole show on being a man, and this is disgusting. If you participate in this type of stuff, this is just not acceptable. So let's listen to Mark Small here. You got 3-minute take on this. I think you'll find it interesting.
Hi, I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk. when you think about sex trafficking, that's moving someone who's really in a vulnerable position within the state of Indiana, for example, or across state lines for purposes of having sex or engaging in prostitution. The high-profile case right now that has gotten everyone's attention, I guess, is Jeffrey Epstein's island off of St. Thomas, where people would take what they call the Lolita Express to the island to be with women, some of whom were underage. Now, Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and I would never imply that there was something untoward about the manner in which he met his demise. But at the same time, with all those powerful white males who were down there, who've been identified, some of whom are royalty from overseas, some of whom have risen to the top of their party, both political parties, major political parties, and yet the one person who's left who's being prosecuted is a woman. I think that underscores the vulnerability of people in our society, particularly when they're trying to maybe report something that's wrong or illegal. It's time that people took a step back from such matters, and it might seem counterintuitive. In other words, it doesn't make sense. But if we legalize prostitution, that can lead to reduced problems in terms of sex trafficking. For one thing, there'd be reporting of people who are doing things that are illegal to people who are being victimized, because otherwise, people who are just engaging in sex, who are adults, who are deriving money from their bodies, wouldn't turn those people in. There are reduced rates of sex trafficking in countries where prostitution is legal. And realize also in this country it's legal, and I'm not talking about the institution of marriage, I'm talking about the state of Nevada, where it's been legal in several counties for decades. What's been produced there has not been any kind of raft of illegality, just a couple of Broadway musicals, and I think a couple of those places went bankrupt even. So I think it's time that we look at things from a different perspective. The people who are victimized in this thing, how are they the ones who get punished? I'm Mark Smalls of Small Talk, and you can catch me on Civil Discourse Now on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock before Mouthwash. Peace, love, happiness, freedom, all that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, pretty relevant to what we've talked about this evening. And Mark
I have to
always has a
apologize.
perspective.
I couldn't hear anything. It went blank.
Oh, well, it was really good, John.
Okay.
So I don't, we just have to take our word for it. But actually, he talked about, the victims being punished. Just a lot of stuff we talked about. And, I want to applaud the ladies on the panel tonight with their frankness and their forthrightness of asking the questions, because I think a lot of people are afraid to ask these questions. And I think what's really scary is I think a lot of people don't want to know the answers and don't want to hear the answers. And we've had a comment here, from Thor that says, hey, we need to do a show again on this, because this is like eating elephant. You got to eat it at a bite at a time. And we've covered so many areas where this is a problem. And as you say, eyes glaze over and folks turn off and tune out. And it's just something that we just can't deal with. So we're going to do one more round of questions here, and then we're going to call it an evening. And we just appreciate you coming on, John, and talking
You're
about
welcome.
this.
I
It's tough.
love having this, guys and ladies. John's got my number. Anybody can call me, set up any meetings you want, 24/7. I'll be there. But real quick, maybe something for you guys to think about. You made a comment, and I didn't take it personal that it's all about me and what's happened to me. I'm blessed. God's been great. I got no problem. But if you watch the video on my website, thejohnpiperproject.com, at the end, you'll see something very important. I came with solutions. You asked all the time, what are we going to do? This is my big thing. What would Lincoln do? Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln. This is a basic outline of the things that's on my website. You can go look at it. How we can get the community involved to get community awareness of what the heck is going on. Billboards are expensive. I've already paid to have lots of billboards put up. I'm willing to put $20,000, $30,000 more into billboards to get this recognized. However, before I spend that kind of money, I want to make sure the legislature is going to pay attention. So I do have a solution. I do have a blueprint. I said on my video, and the same thing I sent to Eric Holcomb and everybody else, I will forget the sins of the past. Never bring up Pence, never bring up Holcomb if they do this. What would Lincoln do? They refuse. They refuse to. Every congressman I gave this, every senator, every state rep, they still won't talk to me. Guys, you implement this, a portion of this, I won't bring up the past. Well, let sleeping dogs lie. They refuse. They won't talk to me.
I think that it
I have a
is.
solution.
Yeah, I think that it is time for a new approach to get this together. And, I think we've already, established that we have some friends in the legislature that would gladly take this up. And obviously we have all three parties represented here. We have Democrat, Republican, and Libertarian, and they're all is a topic that is definitely worthwhile. So I think, coming on the show, I mean, even though we're a small local little outfit here, I think it's been a really good show. We've asked a lot of questions. So panel, do you have any final questions for, we'll go top to bottom. We'll go Dana, Tiffany, and then Lucy, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah. This is a very serious topic, and it impacts so many different lives, so many different families. Like Tiffany said, you gotta make this a time to kill moment. Matthew McConaughey at the end of the movie, time to kill moment. And it's unfortunate. We want to pretend like race is not an issue in America, but we already know it is, hence these dumbass CRT people. But anyway, I had to throw that in there. It's coming, Tiffany. But my final thought is this. One thing that you have to do, we've listened to your story, and I believe what you're saying. I believe what you're saying is happening. I believe it because we know it's real. However, what I would suggest also is a little bit of listening as well, so it'll help you get your message together. Because right now, my eyes are not glassing over. Because again, like I said, I've been talking about this issue with John Bartlett for a long time. Christina Hale passed some legislation dealing with the campus assaults. So these conversations have been in the forefront for a long time. But what I would suggest, so that we can, a part of your package of solutions is finding out what's already being done. Because again, I'm telling you, these things are already in the works. If you are going your route and your route keeps hitting you up against a brick wall, you got to try a different route. And we're here to help you. We're here to help you. So, I put John Bartlett's link in the chat. I've also included the piece of legislation that is going to be introduced in the 2022 legislative session. That there's tangible work there. I don't know what the complete framework is, but this is part of it. So if the other routes of sending certified letters and writing books and doing that's not working, show up to a committee meeting, because it's open to the public. Show up to a committee meeting when they're hearing House Bill 1200. That's the bill that's going to be introduced in 2022. Don't take all your stuff. Don't take all your stuff. Go to that bill.
I'll go with you.
Go into the hearing. Because they'll have it either online or but go to the hearing, sign up. Don't necessarily bring the 2 hours worth of stuff. Get your elevator pitch together, because they only going to give you 3 minutes. Get your elevator pitch together, and then follow up on it. Follow up on that piece of legislation. Follow up on the co-authors. There are 4 authors on there, Republicans and Democrats, that are on that bill. Follow up with them. Those are my final thoughts. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I'm not going anywhere.
There are people that are working on it. If your method didn't work, let's try another method. That's all I'm saying. But I'm glad you're passionate about it, because we need strong men to stand up for these young kids and these women that are and boys too. Real talk, boys that are being trafficked. Yeah, I'm glad that you're out here in the fight.
All right, and Tiffany, can you follow? What do you have for that?
I just echo
amen.
A lot of what Dana said, except for the CRT stuff. I appreciate your passion and your energy. And when they have public comment, I'll go with you too, because I think that this is something that's really important. especially, when I think about like young women on college campuses, people in high school, people who are marginalized, and people who end up being sex trafficked. And we have to get people to start thinking broadly, because this is happening to our neighbors, it's happening in the suburbs, it's happening in our inner cities, and people need to open their eyes and understand that sometimes we are that last line of defense between somebody being abducted and taken away at a convenience store while they're pumping gas, or somebody going home safely. So it's going to involve all of us. And so consider me a partner with helping to end sex trafficking here in Indiana. I'm happy to help you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, cool. Well, Lucy, last but not least, Lucy, libertarian. What do you have?
I echo the sentiments of my fellow ladies, Dana and Tiffany. This is a huge issue. It's obviously got to be tripartisan. It has to extend beyond parties. But to me, the thing that just seems to be so egregious is that people are getting away with this. What's being done in the dark needs to be brought to the light. And so any evidence that you have, those people need to be put on blast. I know you've mentioned Mike Pence's name a couple of times, but what I'm hearing is that you have evidence of his failure to act, not evidence of him being directly involved. So we need to get those chains of evidence and get those out to real people. And I'm a big Second Amendment supporter. So, I think that we should be looking at what are we doing with our young ladies on college campuses and how are they defending themselves? If people knew that, a bullet was something that might end their life when they try and rape your daughter or rape, my daughters, or any woman, that death should be immediate, and they should know that this could happen to them.
Yeah, lack of consequences may be part of the thing, and that could be said for all the legal system. It seems like it's the consequences don't come, and that's perception that
especially
is.
when it comes to women's bodies. Especially
Yeah,
when it comes to women's bodies.
I don't know how y'all walk around.
I know we're talking about young people, but
yeah, I mean, it's I can't relate. I'm 6'3". Nobody screws with me, but I don't know how that women hold it together like they do. I honestly don't. People, I just I don't have to think about that. I probably should a little bit, but I don't. But so
we have the capability of giving life. We can handle a lot of shit.
No, I know. I mean, there is.
But she don't have to handle all of that shit. Just
exactly, and it still comes back to how do you reprogram, Tiffany and Lucy? You guys, we've all said it. It comes back to reprogramming the perpetrators and not protecting the perpetrators.
I agree.
Yep, and
we need more public awareness. We need more videos like Not Today from Coach Frank Wright. We need more NFL and NBA players to stand up and be great role models and just tell it. Don't touch a woman unless she wants it. I mean, that's simple.
Yeah, but there needs to be consequences, because on a college campus, if the consequence for rape is sitting out a semester, there are a lot of kids who'd probably be like, man, I'll just go. My parents are rich. I'll just be at
bad
the
grades
house.
anyway.
But you said
we need
there's no
alphas.
real consequences.
We need alphas in the society who are willing to stand up and take the heat, because a lot of people are not moving on this very issue because they're going to get death threats from drug cartels.
Absolutely.
At some point, we're all scared. So how do you deal with that fear? Well, you've got to know that somebody's got your back. What if all of your neighbors had gotten together with you and 20 of you showed up the damned house, dragged the kids out and shot those people okay, I'm getting
vigilante justice is not. I disagree with that. Vigilante justice is ridiculous. It gets people killed. Don't give that advice. Well, you get what you want, but that's bad advice.
I'm so riled up because I want to stop this.
I know,
how
vigilante,
the police won't do anything.
Vigilante justice is not how you do that. We are a nation of laws for a reason. That's just asking somebody to get killed inadvertently. Don't do that.
To boil it down, you're right. There has to be consequences.
Don't make a right.
Well, I love you being the voice of reason, but at some point, if the highest officials are the ones doing this, if the people that pass the laws are the ones doing this, the laws have no value.
Can I jump in right there? I'm going to ruin all of your nights.
Oh, you've done so well.
Everybody see that? He was the prosecutor in Johnson County. Chief Justice Loretta Rush had a private trial. He kidnapped his ex, tied her up for a week. We don't know if he raped her or not. The neighbors saved her life. She escaped ran down the street nude. They saved her life. Prosecutor, elected, white Republican. They
Why
let
is
him
he still
off
walking
with a
around?
private trial behind closed doors because he's an elected Republican. Everything you said is right. There has to be accountability.
Right.
I
And
guess
it
maybe
seems like there's
I
no
guess
consequences.
I mean, I know these things are happening, and I know that Lucy is driving you insane because these people should be held accountable. But that is the story of African Americans in America. A lot of bad shit keeps happening to us, and people just get away with it. So it's not unusual for us to see bad stuff and go, "Damn, I wish somebody would do something." We still trying to convict Emmett Till's murderer. We still trying to convict him. So and that was in 1955. So I need y'all to understand, like, y'all's
We
connection
understand
to this thing
it.
is a
We're on
little
the same
different.
team. Like I said, I have nieces and nephews that are African Americans.
Yeah,
My
I
brother-in-law is
get that.
African American.
But it's different, and you're not wrong for being upset about the situation, and I want to be clear about that. You're not wrong, but you also are upset about the fact that these people who are in positions of authority are not being held accountable. That is the nature of our nation. It is not
Guys,
new, unfortunately.
well, we
And
have
so
to
what
change
you
it.
have to
If
do
you
is
allow
follow
these
in the
people of
footsteps of the
authority,
civil rights
Loretta
movement.
Rush, if you allow the Chief Justice
You have
to
to follow
keep
in the
doing
steps
this, you're never going to have justice for black people.
But you have to follow in the steps of the civil rights movements.
Yes.
You have to have a movement. And that's how these things change. We've been doing this. The first one was women wanted the right to vote. It became a movement. And then when black folks was like, quit lynching us, quit killing us, it became a movement. We
And
have
right
to
now,
create
our
a
movement is to
And
get people in the Indiana
and
House
and vigilante
to do investigations, to go after these criminals at higher authority. Nothing's going to change as long as their bosses are telling them what to do, and the underlings are saying, "Okay, we can get away with it." You got to get rid of your governor. You got to get rid of your chief justice.
Change is what I'm saying.
But I think what Dana means in terms of a movement, it would be like parents against child trafficking. It would be moms against, child trafficking, where you've got something that crosses the nation and it pulls people in, and then people then reach out across the nation, across the states, to their legislators, to their officials, and it's a different kind of movement. It's not
I think
just
we all agree on
one-sided.
that.
It's a movement where so many people are
But it's
involved.
got to start someplace.
It's on the news. It's in the media. It's in our schools. It's
we
what
got
we're
close.
reading. It's what we're talking about.
It's got to start someplace.
And we got
We
close
just started
with Me
tonight. We
Too,
took the
and
first
time's
step.
up. We got close. We got close. We got real close. But what happens is, again, the vast majority of the perpetrators and the vast majority of the people are of the same ilk, and they protect themselves. You just gotta keep pushing it, though. Like I said, like the civil rights movement, it was a movement. There were people who were like, it's okay that we deny tax-paying African Americans the right to vote. It's okay. It's all right. We're gonna do that. But then
So our
the
movement's
movement
starting.
happened,
You
and
guys
then
are
all
going to
those
find a
people that
way
were
to
in
get me in
positions
touch
to
with the
create laws
legislature. We're going
started
to
to
sit
have
down.
to
We're going
back
to get this
down.
going.
So we can
and this
do
is-
this.
I think this is a
okay,
good
I'm
place
done. I'm
to.
off my box.
This is a good place to end things because honestly, we just really sort of got it started. But we're going to put you in contact with some people. And hey, you never know, the movement may start here, but I got to think that,
Megan and Dorothy, they're all in. Dorothy Jameson and Megan Jones, they're all in. See, we got two. We're already moving.
That is what it's going to take. And I think it's going to take a group effort to basically we're going to be lobbyists to, get some action done here. And I think the next election is going to turn around with a lot of different things. We're going to see a lot of new faces in the next election. I think
hope.
in the midterms. And so, we'll see how that goes, but we got to keep trying. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show. And
ladies,
Dana,
thank you. It was wonderful meeting you. I will meet with anybody, anywhere, anytime. We'll put this together. Today is just the beginning. I'm not going anywhere.
Yep. And Dana, I want to thank you for guest hosting. We picked the Christmas special and the sex trafficking thing, but you did a great job filling in. I love your energy. I love your how you express yourself. And yes, really good questions. And Tiffany, I don't even like you. You're down in Miami having fun. You're going to South Beach, probably going to party till 6 a.m. What's up?
Working on my tan. It's so funny. My neck and my face don't match anymore. So I'm
oh man, I'm not touching that one. And Lucy, as usual, we love your enthusiasm, and I think there'd be a lot less mischief in this world if you took some of these folks.
I'm going to yank a knot in somebody's ass.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
exactly
going to do.
Right. There'd be a lot of knots and tails.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Hey, it's third-party defense. If I see somebody that's in distress and danger, I'm going to put myself between them if I have to. I did that when I was in college, for the number of occasions putting myself between a potential perpetrator and a friend, and I've got no problem doing that now.
We got to stand up for injustice everywhere we can. All right, everyone. Well, we're going to
Happy New Year, everyone. 2022.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
This is our last show of the year.
We will see ourselves again. See each other
yes,
again.
We've already had requests from our viewers to do this again. And, maybe we get this organization and movement going. We'll invite Dana back on in a month or so to see how we're doing. And, we'll see if we can't get this thing going off the ground a little bit.
Listen, I already got my own movements. I'm going to need y'all to start this one. Y'all start.
Okay, yeah, well, you just come talk about it with us, okay?
Yeah,
you let us do the heavy lifting, so we just need a little bit of support. And thanks for your input on who to talk to at the legislature. So, all right, well, hey, let's close it out. Everybody, give the peace out, and we're going to end this puppy on a good note. See ya.
Thank you, John. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Have a blessed new.